Today we are going to learn about thinking right. And do you know which story in the Bible teaches us about thinking right? It's the story about David and King Saul.
We're going to learn about, are you ready? King Saul and David. Have you heard the story before? Probably you've heard about David before and what David did to Goliath, but this is what happened before, long before David became king of Israel. There was something that happened way before that. So let's quickly go and have a look at what happened between David and King Saul.
David and Saul. This is David. Hey! David was a shepherd who lived in Israel. David was chosen by God to be the next king of Israel when he was just a boy. But David had to wait a very long time until that promise would come true because there was another king of Israel named Saul. Saul was strong and tall and looked like everything a king should be. But Saul did not follow God like he was supposed to, and for that reason, God chose to take the kingdom from Saul's family and give it to David's. David became a great warrior. And everyone in the kingdom loved David. Huh? This made Saul jealous, and Saul hated David because he thought he would try to kill him and take the throne from his family. So Saul wanted to kill David. Whoa! Saul hunted David, but he couldn't catch him. One day, Saul heard that David was in the wilderness of En-gedi. So Saul gathered 3,000 of his skilled fighters and went to find and kill David. During Saul's search for David, he went in a cave to relieve himself. Well, this very cave was the one where David and his men were hiding. And when David's men saw that Saul was unaware that David was there and unable to defend himself, they said, "Now's your chance, David. This is God telling you that he will give you your enemy to do with as you wish." So David crept forward and cut off a piece of Saul's robe. But then David began to think that it was not right for him to take Saul's life. For no matter how much hardship and difficulty Saul had caused him, it was still not right for him to hurt the one who God had placed over Israel. So David told his men to back off, and he did not let them kill King Saul. They waited until after Saul had left the cave. And then David ran out of the cave and shouted after Saul, "My king! Why do you listen to people who say I am trying to harm you? Look, I cut it off, but I didn't kill you. This proves that I am not trying to harm you and that I have not sinned against you, even though you've been hunting me." David went on to promise that he would never harm Saul. David said that God would be the one to protect David and to rescue him from Saul's power. Saul said, "Is that really you, David?" And he began to cry. Saul said, "You are a better man than I. You have been amazingly kind to me today. For when God put me in a place where you could have killed me, you didn't do it. Who else would have done this? And now I realize that you are surely going to be king, and the kingdom of Israel will flourish under your rule. But promise me that when that happens, you will not kill my family." So David promised that he would not hurt Saul's family, and they left each other in peace. Now Saul continued to cause difficulty in David's life. But David kept his promise, and in time, David did become king of Israel. David was dearly loved by God, and Israel did flourish under his rule because David did everything that God wanted him to do, and he was a man after God's own heart.
Wow, Frankie and friends, how awesome and inspiring was that story about David and King Saul?
Yes, it was really cool.
What did you learn, Frankie?
I learned that he made good choices,
Yeah.
he had good thoughts,
Yeah.
and he didn't do anything bad.
Because he could have killed Saul because he was mad at him. because he tries to kill him every day. But he made a good choice. He had good thoughts, honorable, true thoughts that he can be proud of. And that takes me to our verse for today. Do you want to learn the verse?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's in Philippians. Say
Philippians.
Philippians
Philippians
4,
4,
verse 8.
verse 8.
And that says that we must fill our minds
We must fill our minds
with thoughts that are good
with thoughts that are good
and true
and true
and honorable.
and honorable.
Wow, I think we should say it again because that is exactly what David did. He filled his minds with good and true and honorable thoughts. Let's say it again. Philippians 4,
Philippians 4,
verse 8.
verse 8.
That said, we must fill our minds
We must fill our minds
with thoughts that are
good
good and true
and true
and honorable.
and honorable.
Wow, Frankie, that's amazing. David is such an inspiration. Frankie, now we can do our experiment. I've been so excited the whole day. Do you want to see?
Yes.
Okay, now we can see how we can be more like David. Think good thoughts, true thoughts, honorable thoughts. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let me explain to you what we've got here. So today we're going to use this as anger and emotion anger because David could have killed Saul because he was angry with him. He tries to kill him every day. So we're going to call this anger. Sometimes we also get angry with our friends or maybe with our mommy and daddy asking us to do something and we don't want to, so we get a little bit angry, or our brother or sister kicks our blocks over. That makes us mad. So this is anger. Okay, and here we've got you and me and also you and me. Okay, and around the glass we've got little squishies that represent your mommy and daddy and your brother and sister, teacher, your friends, everyone that's around you a lot, okay, that can be affected by us not controlling our anger. Okay, so on this side, we're going to show how you can control your anger and what happens when we think good thoughts like David and control our anger. On this side, we're going to show what happens when we have no control and it bursts out of us. What happens? Let's see. First, what happens to us when we have too much anger going on inside us and we can't control it? It's just pouring and pouring. Look what happens. It affects everyone around us. You maybe get angry and ugly with your brother and sister and then that makes them sad. This is what happens when we don't control our anger. Let's see what happens when we control it like David and think good and true thoughts. You still get a little bit angry and you can still feel like you want to burst inside, but you can control it. It doesn't flow over. It doesn't affect other people or make other people sad or angry. Frankie, what do you think?
I think this is amazing.
I want to
Like
be
the
more like...
experiment.
Yeah, I want to also be more like David. And you?
Yes, definitely.
Frankie, before we say goodbye, let's quickly say our verse of the day again. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Philippians 4,
Philippians 4,
verse 8.
verse 8.
Always fill your mind
Always fill your mind
with thoughts that are good
with thoughts that are good
and true
and true
and honorable.
and honorable.
Well done, Frankie. Thank you very much for joining us today and learning about David and King Saul. I hope that you've learned a very valuable lesson today. I can't wait to see you guys again. You must have an awesome day with your family and friends, and then we'll see you again. Okay, bye.